Hi, I'm David Lee Pancake. I am sculpting with the Nomad Sculpt on the iPad Pro, and in this video I'm going to make a little simple battle axe for my kobold. And what I do is I start out with a box and trim it down to the rough shape of the axe, and then I'm taking the trim tools and I'm giving myself a blade here. This is so much fun. I mean, I really love Nomad Sculpt. It is so easy to use. I'm having a blast as I'm sitting in my easy chair sculpting. It seems like I'm hardly doing anything, you know. Now I decided I want to make a flint type of look to my battle axe, and so I'm using the trim lasso tool, and I'm just cutting into the edges of the box and taking out parts of it. You can see how it's looking now. It looks like, it's a chipped flint, and I thought maybe it added a little bit more thickness there with the move tool. Everything's on symmetry, so what I do on one side is mirrored on the other side. And then I thought, well, let's see, this is looking too rectangular, so I'm going to chop off the back end of it. There we go. And then the next thing is to put a groove in it for my handle to go into. Almost there. Oh yeah, and then move out that blade to make it rounded and look more like an axe. And here we go for the handle groove, just cutting into it. And at first I thought, well, I'll use a cylinder and that would be my handle. But then I thought, no, let's go over and use the tube tool. The tube tool is phenomenal. And so that I could use symmetry, I lined it up with the world axis here. And what the tube tool allows you to do is just maneuver that cylinder and make different thicknesses throughout the handle. You can see what I'm doing here, giving it a bit of a curve. And then I use the gizmo tool to flatten it out a little bit. I'm using the move tool to adjust my axe and make it look more conformed to my handle here. And then I thought, well, I'd notch out that blade just a little bit and make it look ragged, like it'd been used. Now the next step you wouldn't have to do necessarily, but I did. I used the Boolean function and I cut out the center part of the tube so that it looked like it was, the handle was split around the axe. You can see it there. It really didn't make any difference because nobody could ever see that anyway, but I did it. I upped the resolution on the handle and I used the groove tool, the crease tool, excuse me, and cut little lines into the handle to make it look like wood grain. I could have used a stamp tool to put the wood grain in, but then I kind of wanted to look more random and worn down. I don't know. I think it looked pretty good. Now the next step is I use a cylinder for the handle grip. And there we go. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the move tool to give it an angle here, like like you're wrapping leather around the handle, just for the grip. Now technically this would be in a spiral going up, but you only see one edge of one side of the axe at any time anyway, so I just used the cylinder tube all the way up, just duplicating it, making adjustments, thinning it down a little bit, pushing it in with the move tool, and then next one. Somebody's going to tell me that there is an easier way, but this is what I did. If I was in ZBrush, I could probably come up with half a dozen easier ways, but part of the challenge here is to use Nomad. It's fun to use this tool that's simple and see what you can do with the simplicity of the tool. Flip this around so that the leather looked like it was tucked in at the end. Made a couple adjustments here, and like it had been crossed over and then wrapped in. I think that looked pretty good. Then I used the stamp tool to give it some texture. I don't know if it comes through on that. Maybe not. Alright, so the next aspect of it is I'm going to wrap that axe and handle together with rope. And I'm using the tube tool again. And here's the thing, I really didn't need to go all the way around because I just created a headache for myself. I could have just used one side and then duplicated it on the other side or mirrored it on the other side, but I didn't. I did it the hard way. And I'm just going to tuck that into this little groove up here on top that I'd created with the Boolean function earlier. And duplicate that tube out again. I realized at this point that I should have kept it unvalidated. That meant that so I could still have the nodes to manipulate it. So I went back, I did a redo, and then duplicated again, and then I used the nodes to pull it out so that it looked like it went around itself. Now, just one strand was not going to do it, so later on I'll duplicate those strands. Now, nobody would see this top portion, but I did another wrap around with the tubes. And then I'll duplicate that, and so it looks like the rope will run around several times. But later on, I use a saber-tooth skull that I'd sculpted earlier, and I put it on top of this axe. That was the final touch. So all this area was covered up. I duplicate the ropes down below. And duplicate the other rope so that I had two right there. Okay, yeah. And then I'll do the wraparound down below again. Again, I could have used Taurus and it would have been just as easy to do, I think. Almost finished. And I didn't show the part about adding the saber tooth, but it was just as easy, just make another wrap through the skull. And that's it. I really appreciate you watching my videos. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button.